what's happening, people? It's Anthony Page, Blue Bistro Theater. We're getting ready to go live, baby, live. I'm gonna bring my co-host in. All right. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Each week we're talking to some really phenomenal creatives who are moving and shaking and, hitting milestones and just really putting some good work together in terms of their creative career. Good. So let's do this formal thing. Hi guys, I'm Anthony Page. This is Blue Bistro Spotlight, and we're going to have a wonderful interview tonight with Miss Diandra Lyle, an actress on the West Coast. But before I do that, I'm going to kick it over to my co-host to introduce herself.
Your co-host just lost her earring. These earrings are on. Everything's acting up tonight. Hey guys, it's me, DJ Miss Tan out of Jacksonville, Florida. And we are ready to dive into our interview this evening. I hope you guys are doing well and have a great weekend. And let's go, Anthony, let's go. All right, so how are you this evening first? How are you feeling? Can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I am well, thank you. I'm doing very good. The weather's beautiful, so I'm in great spirits.
Where?
I'm in Los Angeles. All
right, wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome. We want to thank you for joining us this evening. I always like our guests to toot their own horn. We have read your bio. Anthony knows about you in depth, but let our listening audience know just who you are.
It's funny because I'm so not a look at me person. So, okay, I'm going to do my best to toot my horn. Diandra Lyle, I am an actress. I'm also a writer. I'm a producer, so I'm a filmmaker in that sense. I'm a little girl born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. Yes, they do have people of color in Iowa. There's Black people there, okay? I'm from the capital city, so, I'm not from the farmland, which I have a lot of family in the farms, but I'm not from there. But yeah, from Iowa, went to the University of Iowa, lived in Chicago for a while and a couple other places, and now I've been in LA for about 10 years. I've been acting now since about 2009, which I started later than a lot of people do. I didn't plan on being an actor, but here I am. And I'm a mom. I have a 19-year-old in college, which is crazy. I don't know. I think that's how I got all this white hair because, my teenage daughter.
Yes.
And I have a dog and a fiance. And yeah, I mean, I've done some shows. This business is funny because when people find out you're an actor, they go, oh, well, what have I seen you in? And, I'm just like, hey, if you watch certain shows, I might have popped up here and there. So I've been really, really fortunate to have had a lot of great opportunities on a lot of different shows and networks and types of productions. And
we're going to get into asking you specifics about that. You did a wonderful job of letting us know who you are. So stop saying that you can't. I want you to know Iowa State. So I was in Ames, Iowa.
Oh, excuse me. That's impressive.
Right. I learned that Des Moines, like every city has a hood. So I was like, it was an awakening for me as well. I thought it was no people of color there. So I understand why you said that exactly.
Yeah.
I did only lasted a year because of the cold. I was out. I'm a Florida girl, so I had to get out of there.
Yes.
Tornado in the snow. Okay.
It gets a little cold.
So that's some real cold weather. So welcome.
Thank
Midwest
you.
of the spirit. You're a beautiful person. And she is, Anthony, which you already knew that. So I'm going to let you go ahead and start with the process, your favorite part, Anthony.
Absolutely. So we're trying to demystify it because it's like everybody has to kind of blaze their own trail to get to their place of success. First of all, for you, how do you define success? What does success look like for you as a creative professional?
I think there's no one definition. For me, I always tell people I haven't made it, I'm making it. It's a constant, process. And there's a lot of successes. Some of my biggest successes haven't been in booking an actual job. It could have been just getting in the room for that job, getting a chance to get that, that audition. So there's so many different successes along the way. And to get an agent is a success, to get an audition is a success, to book something is a success, to move up the ladder, there's just so many different things. So it's just a constant evolving process.
So tell us about your day-to-day routine or week-to-week routine. how do you go about building your creative enterprise as an actor? You're primarily an actor moving into producing and writing, correct?
Yeah, well, I produced and wrote a short film when I lived in Chicago, actually back in like 2011, I think was when we did that film. So that's when I had my first foray into filmmaking. But my day-to-day process, I mean, you know, right now I am not working on anything currently. I'm getting ready to go back in June to shoot season 3 of the show that I'm on. So I'll be working all summer. But right now it's just, you know, if auditions come in, I'm going to prepare an audition and work on that. And as for my writing, my creating, I'm always telling myself I got to get back to it. I need to do better. I'll be thinking of stuff and I'm like, oh, I got to get back to my When I get in my writing zone, I'm there and I'm like focused. And it's such an amazing thing. But then when I get away from it, it's kind of like working out. You know, when I get if I don't do it for a while, it's harder to get back over to it. I'll be thinking about it. So I need to do better in exercising that muscle. But no, I mean, I also, you know, I coach actors on the side, and so I'll, you know, help them self-tape and do things like that. So there's other creative things that I'm doing in the meanwhile. But yeah, just always trying to get a job. You know, I mean, that's constant, right? You're always trying to get a job, always interviewing.
The video in question was recorded by an active duty sailor. It's property of the Navy. Neither Mr. Stone nor his co-counsel have the necessary security clearance to watch this video, much less possess it. It could embarrass the executive branch and have repercussions on our foreign policy.
This video is a critical piece of evidence in a homicide case. Once I introduce the video into evidence, it's all yours.
And by the following morning, this story will be clickbait for every media outlet from here to Vladivostok.
The government shouldn't deceive us about what our military does in foreign lands.
With all due respect to Mr. Stone, if we start allowing local officials to become the arbiters of whether classified items are made public, that's a national security nightmare I can't begin to imagine.
So let's talk about the process of getting a job. What was that first big job for you where you realized, okay, I'm here now, or at least hitting that first big milestone, you got a first big gig?
I mean, I think there's lots of different first milestones. So my very first job ever was a McDonald's commercial. And we shot that on St. Patrick's Day in Chicago by the river. It was green. They dyed it green and it was freezing. And I'm wearing like spring clothes, sandals and everything. And so that was a big major moment because that was my first official booking. My first television credit in 2010 was a co-star. You know, I had one scene. It was on Detroit 187. And that was a big moment because finally on TV. Yeah.
Right.
And so then, and my first guest star. So I remember all these moments. My first guest star was actually in Atlanta on the Have and the Have Nots. I did a Tyler Perry show and I was a police officer and that was my first guest star, you know. So with each step, you know, again, you're making it. So it's just that, you know, because some people it's like, you're just trying to get the audition. Then you're getting a co-star and you want to get more co-stars and then you want to get up to guest star. And then you want to get up to recurring, and then you want to get to a series reg, hopefully, or a lead, you know. But then also there's big moments when there's certain people that I'm working with that, you know, to me, I'm like, wow, like to work with this caliber of an artist that either has been in the game a long time, has that I've just, you know, that I've always watched growing up is amazing.
Right. No matter where you are right now, me looking at you as a professional and an audience member, I'm like, okay, she's right there. I'm seeing the work you're doing on Sulphur Springs on Disney Plus, and then I turn over and I see the work you're doing on Moonbase 8. I'm like, okay, she's ripping this.
Well, thank you.
On Moonbase 8, I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, and you got some heavyweight players in there.
Yes?
Alicia, how do you want to proceed here?
Proceed with what?
There's obviously something going on between us. Let's not be naive here.
Look, I've come here to do a job, and I would appreciate it if you treated me like a teammate and not a sexual object.
Totally. I get it. It's just, you asked me to think about how I'm feeling and how isolation is affecting my mood, and I told you that I was lonely. But that was a lie. Ever since you've been at this base, I have not felt lonely at all. I've felt warmth. I felt something I haven't felt since I was 16.
Look, I know that feelings can get complicated out here.
I know.
But I would really hate to have to report you.
Right, I get it. It's complicated. And listen, I'm a father. I've got 12 kids. I'm a married man. But that can change.
That shouldn't change.
All right. Just sleep on it, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Go. Have a good night.
Okay. Well, good night.
Good night, Rook.
Can a guy at least get a goodnight kiss before he goes to sleep?
Look here. I've been dealing with this my entire life. I know exactly who I am. I'm smart, I'm beautiful, and I don't give a damn about you, your penis, or anything you got to say with your pasty, white, chalky, Bible-thumping nitwit ass. You don't look at me, you don't talk to me, you don't breathe the same air as me. Are we clear?
Yes.
Great. You have a good night.
Yeah, that's one of those moments I was talking about, like when you're working with certain people. So that to me was a career highlight, to work with Fred Armisen and Tim Heideker and John C. Reilly. And honestly, when I auditioned for the role, we didn't know who was involved with it. It was an independent project, and it wasn't until I got the job that I found out, oh, I'm working with these three guys who actually created the show together. And it was just me and them that whole episode. And it was just, I mean, it was such an honor. I remember just sitting there like, I'm just thankful to be here. Like, I'm Fred,
Right.
and they were sweethearts, and they were nice, and they were very generous. And yeah, for me, that was definitely one of those big moments.
So
Absolutely.
just to piggyback on that, with it being two different things, how do you prepare yourself for each individual role? Because you've done a variety of different types of roles.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. As an actor, I don't want to get pigeonholed or typecast. You know, I like the variety. It keeps it fun for me. I like to be serious. I can be a cop. I can do that, or I can be, you know, goofy or whatever. But I mean, every role is different. You know, I mean, it just depends on the nature of it. You know, if it's an attorney and you're in a courtroom scene, you know, you got to do your studies. You know, how do they carry themselves? How are they, you know, what's the pacing? What's the tempo? And also preparing for every project. You know, especially when it comes to television, you know, you should know who's producing this. What else have they done? You know, what are the types of shows that they do? Do they have a certain temperature? Like Shonda Rhimes, you know, all of her stuff, it's fast paced. It's a lot of dialogue. It's fast paced. It's a rhythm to it, you know, so every type of thing has their own vibe. And so it is important for you to do your studies, to read the script if you get that, you know, to just understand as much as you can going in what this project is about. That's half the battle there, you know. So, but then each character, you know, is different. I love it.
Open the trunk, Ron. You been ripping me off, Ron?
No, man, you got the wrong idea.
All right, well, why don't you help her find the right one? Open the trunk.
You mind your business.
You can keep her.
Two of y'all gonna do anyway.
Yeah, it ain't about us. It's about what those two are gonna do to you. Tell me you're not cheating on your husband with your dead husband.
I can't even touch him.
Well, cheating with your heart is even worse.
I can't find Drew.
Maybe you don't have to. Give me $100 and the keys to your car. I'll bring the car back.
What about my $100?
Trust me. The keys.
So, you know, what's interesting to me, when you first started talking, you said, I didn't know I was going to be an actor. So did you always want to be one, though?
No, it was not part of my to-do list. It was not at all. Like,
Oh.
I think at one point I thought I was going to be an archaeologist, and, you know, I was collecting bones when I was a kid. And then I thought maybe being an architect and then a veterinarian. And then what I got my degree in is recreational therapy, and my minor's in social work. So in my former life, I worked as a rec therapist at a psych hospital in Chicago. I ran programming from ages 4 through adults. You name it, I saw it. But I always mostly worked with children in the system, adolescents and youth, with behavioral, emotional, psychological, you know, issues and disorders. And that's what I did. I loved it. I absolutely enjoyed it. And then I got laid off, and and when one door closes, another one opens. And but the acting thing, yeah, it wasn't. I took a class my last semester of college because I had hours to kill, and the teacher said 2 different times, "You have it. You need to be doing this." And the way I saw it was like, well, I'm an only child. I played a lot of Barbies. I have an imagination, you know.
Amazing.
But it wasn't like I wasn't. But then after that, in the years that followed, it just kind of sat back there in the back of my spirit. And it was there, and it was there. And it's kind of like you can sweep dirt under a rug, and you can keep sweeping it under there, but that pile's gonna get bigger and bigger until you trip over it.
Right.
And so I finally had to acknowledge it. And, you know, when I got laid off, it's like, okay, let's try it. And here I am.
Here you are. Exactly. You are.
and also, I do share this a lot with people, but I started at age 30. I started at age 30. Yeah. So I my biggest thing is to tell people, there's a quote I live by, it's never too late to be what you might have been. And I believe that, like, I don't think I started old. I started when I was supposed to. There's room for everybody, and there's almost nothing you can't do. So
that's a great insight. So let's dig deeper into that, the wisdom side of it, because none of us know what we're doing when we start something new.
Right.
You can learn as you go. What are some of the big lessons that you know now? You got more than a decade in. What do you know now on how to approach the best way to approach your career?
What do I know now? I'm still learning. With every step that I take, that curtain gets pulled back more and more. And you go, and you learn.
Well, tell us about some of those O's. It's like,
Yeah, I would say when I first got to LA in 2012, for the first 2 years, I did stand-in work. So a stand-in, for the people that don't understand what that is, it's, you know, when they're preparing the camera and the lighting for the scene, you stand in place of the actor. And so you do the movement and everything like that. So it's a lot of grunt work. You're not, you know, you're there long hours. Nobody really appreciates you. I mean, they do, but it was bittersweet because, you know, I was like, I want to be in front of the camera. I want to do that. But what I realized was that made me such a better actor because I was a part of the crew. So I was there in the trenches for 12+ hour days, 5 days a week. I was sitting there getting to know who everybody was on the crew. The camera department, the lighting, the grips, the props, like everybody. I got to know them. They became my family. I got to understand what they do. And then I also got to see the other side of if actors didn't come prepared or if they weren't the friendliest, you know, and you kind of see that side and you're like, oh, I remember one time there was a DP who had been in the game a long time. And I think an actor wasn't prepared. And he was like, he's very, you know, set in his ways. He's like, you don't come unprepared when you go acting. I'm like, no, you know, so you really prepared me for when I started doing those jobs in front of the camera. Actually, and the person who gave me that stand-in job, I just see he joined us, Van Hayden, sorry. He's one of my angels, a great assistant
Hey,
director.
what's going on?
Van, he came up through Spike Lee's camp. He's doing great things. You know, it just, like I said, when I started getting those opportunities in front of the camera, I came prepared. You know, I knew my lines. I treat everyone with respect, which I did anyways, because there's no small person on a crew. It takes every single person from the background to the lead actors to make that, you know, production work. So to me, everyone should get the same respect. There's no little people. So, you know, those are really, really big moments that help shape me. And when I'm on set, I hang out with the stand-ins and sometimes in the background and I'm talking to the crew because I just feel like that's home for me. You know, but yeah, I think it's just, you know, being prepared and, you know, coming in with a positive attitude and having fun. And, you know, I mean, I'm thankful to be there because, again, being on the other side of it, being behind the camera for 2 years and wanting to be there. And now I am. That's such a blessing because this business is hard and very few people, you know, make it. And I know talented people that can't even get an agent. And you're like, man, so I'm just, you know, I'm thankful for this opportunity.
Rita Maxwell?
Maybe.
Is Quincy Maxwell here?
Why?
Quincy!
He in jail.
Were you the caregiver for Quincy Dalen Young?
His son.
Yes.
I don't know where that boy at.
Did you take care of him?
No.
Was he ever in your care?
No.
Can we come in?
No, you can't.
Can you call this lady? She's with child welfare. She has some questions.
In interacting with you, I was dealing with your management company.
Yeah, my managers, yeah.
You have manager and an agent?
I do. I actually have several agents. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so tell us about that because, you know, there's a debate about having an agent or a manager or both. So tell us why you chose to have the combination of representation that you do.
Okay. Yeah. Prior to coming to LA in Chicago, that was a listing city, meaning you could have more than one agent at a time. So I don't know if they phased that out. So I just had agents there. But when I got to LA, I ended up getting a manager first before an agent. For me, I chose to do that because the way I see it, managers are really there to help shape your overall career. And you as a person, everything down to like your training, to your, headshots, to, everything. They're kind of like your family member, and they're there to just help you in your journey. And then your agents are the ones that are really brokering the deals, and getting you submitted for auditions. And then, if you book it, then they do the contract work and all the numbers and things like that. I chose to go with a manager because I just wanted to have my reach as far as I could. You know what I mean? Like I'm really fortunate because the managers I have are amazing. And they literally are family to me. I
can tell. Yeah, they're
absolutely
very interactive, very supportive. Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you this. They are so much like family that when we had my daughter's graduation party last May, we had it at my manager's house in his backyard. So that's how close of a relationship we have. I can go to them at any time if I'm struggling with something, if I need help with something, if I don't want to do something, or they represent me out in the world, and my managers have a great reputation from everyone that I've interacted with, from casting directors and other agents saying, I don't like managers, but I love Peter. I love Tara, my manager. So I'm really lucky. There's pros and cons, I guess, if you want to have a manager and an agent, because you're going to have to split commissions more, you're going to have to pay more out of pocket. So, you're going to get your pay, and then you have to give a percentage over here, and you got to give a percentage over there. I feel like it's a great balance for me because sometimes my managers can get me into rooms or auditions or push a little further. My agents may not have as much time, but my agents are great too, so I like having that reach. They do a great job. I wouldn't be here without anyone on my team. So I don't mind paying them because we're all doing it together. So it's an investment, All
right.
Yeah.
So speaking of agents, Los Angeles, and all these types of things, there also, is the question of location. So did you choose to go there to pursue your career, or were you already there when you started? Mm-hmm. It's two parts. And if so, why did you choose LA as opposed to like Atlanta?
Okay. So when I officially started, I was in Chicago at the time. I only lived in Chicago about 5 years, 2007 to 2012. End of 2008 was when I was laid off. So that's when then beginning of 2009 is when I started acting. So that's where I got my feet wet. I built my foundation. I did independent films, commercials, things like that. And people are like, go to LA, you got to go to LA. But I think, I realized, I said, LA, everyone's in the business. Everyone's beautiful. Like, you're going to be a small fish in a big pond, right? And I wanted to build a strong foundation before I made that move. The reason Atlanta was nice. I think at the time in 2012, to me, Atlanta and Chicago were still growing, because Chicago still didn't even have all the Dick Wolf shows. We had Chicago Fire, but all the other ones were just about to start coming. So it's blossomed, and both Atlanta and Chicago have blossomed immensely. But I felt like in Chicago at the time, I was going to reach my ceiling. And, a lot of I would audition for big roles, but a lot of the roles would still go to New York, LA actors. So that's why I said, I'm going to go to LA, and I got here in 2012. But again, my first guest star was in Atlanta. I've gone back to Chicago to work twice, which is funny because I had to go to LA to book work in Chicago. Again, New York and LA actors, right?
Right.
But yeah, LA was just like, if I'm going to go, I got to go there. So yeah.
Monica Albright, I want to express my condolences for your loss and answer any questions you may have. Why did this happen? I'm sorry that I don't have an answer for you. Perhaps you'd like to speak with a chaplain.
Please let us see your baby.
In some cases, as in your son's.
His name is Christian.
Christian. Extraordinary measures are taken in an attempt to save a patient's life. And even if you're prepared, it can be difficult. May I suggest it might be better if your final memory is of when he was alive.
Okay, so how are you shaping your career now with your team? Because it seems like you're at a spot where you can start to look at your career differently and have access to maybe a different level of opportunity. Because I'm telling you, the work you're doing on Moonbase 8 is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's standout work. I mean, and I think you're going to make a lot of noise from that. I think a lot of things can come out of that. So you guys looking towards something right now?
I mean, we're always looking. You know, I have a show right now, which is amazing. You know, to get to that level, that's just, it's a blessing. And I don't take that for granted. In the grand scheme of things, I'm still not a name per se, you know? And again, like I said, the further you go in this business, the more that curtain is pulled back and you learn it and you go, oh, and it's not always pretty. You know, the politics and the politricks is what I call it, that you're dealing with, right? And I still don't know all of them, but like, you know, I'm seeing it. And you know, people talk about relationships and just, like I said, the knowing you, having a following. And I'm kind of old school because I'm like, well, I want people to follow me because they know who I am and they like what I do. I don't want to just them to follow me. Like I'm not into the smoke and mirrors. What you see is what you get. I'm me. I have friends from high school and college like, you're still the same old D. I say, yeah, I'm weird and goofy and I'm just me. So I don't have as much of a choice to go like, oh, I'd like to do this project or I'd like to get in that room. I'm not really at that state, at that level. I mean, maybe hopefully one day I will be. But, you know, one thing I'm trying to focus on and put into the universe is I really want to get back into films because this business can tend to corner you sometimes into TV or film. Not that you can't cross over, but it just tends to do that. And I started out in film. You know, I did short films in Chicago and it's a different medium. You know, you can let things breathe a little more in film. You know, television's very, you know, you got to get in and get out because it's a time crunch, you know, it's very formulaic. So I miss that medium of film. And so I'm like, I want to go in for more. Why am I not? I can do films. You know, I'm like, what they talking about? I can do films. You know, so that's what I'm trying to bring in. I'm trying to call that in right now. So if anybody's watching, you know, I ain't working right now. You know, I'm down for some films. I mean, no, but that's what we're trying to push our scope out into.
Excuse me? Yo, these hash browns are nasty.
Okay, we're doing our best, ma'am, okay?
Oh, this funny to you? Ooh, look at these people all down out in their life. They eat just any old thing. And they all heard no seasoning, butter. What? You complain, you cook. Fine. At least I know what I'll be eating. If you're gonna stand there with your mouths open, at least put some food in them.
Caramelized onions, rosemary, little garlic. Where'd you learn to cook like this?
Grew up in my daddy's rib joint. And I went to culinary school.
Culinary school?
Yeah, well, lots of us have dreams. Not all of them come true.
I am kind of picky about what I go in for just because I want to do things that I connect with. I don't want to do everything. And, you know, you have two different mindsets on that. You have people that think, do everything that comes your way. And I think especially for Black actors, you know, it's like that mentality, do anything, don't turn down anything, do everything. And that's fine. If that's how you want to operate, I don't knock anybody, you know, but for me, again, I want to do things that I enjoy because I feel like if here's a character that I like and a story that I like, that's where the gold is going to come out. That's where the magic is going to come out when I connect with that, as opposed to just doing something to do it. You know, for me, this is just me, you know, but everything is chess moves too. So, you know, I may do something that is an independent project, or maybe, you know, years past I did something I didn't get paid because I wanted experience with that type of a film, you know, for me, let me get it's a rom-com. Let me get my feet wet. So if something does come along, I'm comfortable in it, you know? So that's just kind of how I move. So you know, my team, they're very supportive. And if I want to pass on something, they're like, okay, you know, and I guess I realized I don't have to explain to anybody why I choose or choose not to do anything. It's my journey. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I want to eat, like literally eat, but I also want and feed my myself, but I also want to feed my spirit and my artistic side. And I don't want to sacrifice my artistic integrity just to be doing, because that's when I don't have fun anymore. And for me, it's about enjoying it.
Just to piggyback on that, is that from experience? Like, did you accept the role that you wish you hadn't? And so you said you would never do it again? Like, how did you?
No, I think coming in at the age that I was, because I started at 30 and I was a parent, at that time. And I came in, the first couple mentors I had been in the game for a long time. And really it was instilled in me early, there's power in saying no. And, another thing a mentor said is like, there's a difference between being busy and being about business.
Right.
Right. Sometimes too much circulation is not always a good thing. It's like Sade. She come out with her albums once every 10, 12 years, drops it on us and like, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? But it still hits every time. So, I mean, those things were instilled into me early. And I think just where I was in life, it's just that's the way I approached it. I haven't really had a bad experience where I was like, oh, why did I take this? Gotcha. Fortunately, I haven't had that. But yeah, I just want to do things that move me, and I don't want to waste time on things that don't,
Right. Well, no journey is without some bumps. So, and sometimes we're defined by those bumps in the road. We discover who we are.
Yeah.
Without giving away too much detail, tell us about one of those tough moments and what you learned about yourself.
Oh, you're gonna have to make me dig up in my memory bank. Let me think. Some tough moments. I can say there was a moment several years ago where I had just for about a year or two, I was on a good roll. I was getting some pretty good guest star roles and getting into more and more rooms and going in for bigger projects. And pilot season, which is usually February-ish, top of the year when all these, well, it's kind of shifted now because pilots are all year, but that's when, used to be a big influx of projects coming in. And there was one time I had 9 auditions within a week and for lead roles. And so that's a lot of work because you're sitting there trying to read the script, you're trying to prepare, the audition, and then you want to be present, but then you got 2 auditions one day, or it's crazy, and then you're trying to live because I'm a mom, and I think my daughter's birthday was that week, and it was crazy. But there was one particular audition. I had done an episode of a show, and I don't even mind speaking on what this is. I sent in an audition the fall before for a guest star role on it was on Chicago Justice. And I remember it was one of my strongest auditions. I killed it. I was like, oh, I was in it. It was like an attorney role, which is in my wheelhouse. I felt really good. And we sent it in, we didn't hear anything. And then a couple months later, I had a direct offer for another attorney guest star role on the same show because of that other audition. So that's a whole nother story because you never know who's watching and you want to plant those seeds, right? So because of that other audition, I got a different role, which was great, So I went to Chicago and I worked on Chicago Justice and it was great and I had an amazing time. And then a few months later when we were in pilot season, I had a straight to producers session. So it's kind of like the callback level of an audition for a new pilot, the FBI pilot, the FBI show that's on, and for the lead role. Because it was the same casting house, And so the casting director, who is based out of New York, we had never formally met in person because, I would booked on, by self-tape. So this came in and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's a role that I would love because it's right in my wheelhouse. And I'm like, I got it. And I'm going in, I'm going straight to the producers and the writers. But then I had all these other auditions and it was crazy. And I didn't get a chance to really buckle down as much as I would have liked to. I was spread thin. And I went in, and right when I got there, the casting director came out and he came to meet me. He said, I am so happy to finally meet you. You did amazing on Chicago Justice. And I had auditioned for a Law and Order SVU role too. He's like, you did great with that one too. I'm sorry it didn't go your way, but I'm just glad you're here. And I'm like, so you're like, this is like that person. And they're like excited. They brought you in. And so I go into the audition and the writer is there and a producer. And I'm doing it, and I just kind of wasn't settled. And then halfway through my audition, Dick Wolf walks in.
Oh, wow.
During my audition. Yeah,
Wow.
he walks in and he goes and sits down, which I have no problem with people in the room. I love when people in the room. I like the energy. But I just wasn't as settled as I wanted to be. And so that was really frustrating. You know, I walked out of there very frustrated with myself because I knew it was something that I could do and I could kill. But I was just so spread thin. I talked to my manager. Casting let us retape. And my manager told the casting, like, she just has a lot all at once. And, you know, and the casting director said, you know, I get that, but maybe, you know, it would help her if she picked the ones that were more important and say no to the other ones. And at that point in my career, I was kind of like, I'm taking everything. Like, oh, these are all big auditions. They're series regs. I want to go in for everything. But it was kind of like, oh, okay. You know, so that was a moment. That was a speed bump because you wanted to go and impress because you're like, you already had a fan. And then you're in there going to the lead role. And I knew I could do it, but it's okay. I don't hang my head with that. You know, it was still great to be in that office and you're human and you have on days and you have days that are just rough. And that's okay. That's okay. And I do believe what's for you is for you. So, you know, but that's definitely one of those moments that, you know, yeah, like you said, there's a saying, smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor. You know, like you said, you have to have challenges. You have to have bumps to know how to navigate and appreciate when you are on the smooth seas.
There are plenty of good restaurants in your ward. Norm's, I hear, has a fabulous gumbo.
No, I'm not required to eat in the community I serve, ma'am.
No, but you are required to serve that community. And from what I gather, you're falling asleep on the job.
I don't mean to be rude, but who are you?
I'm working on behalf of those nice people who are starving to keep their school open.
You can tell those nice people instead of blaming me, they should be thanking me.
Now, I know politicians like to take credit for everything, but you're going to have to walk me through that one.
Did you know I grew up just down the street from Franklin?
I know all about you.
Then you also know I took a bus 21 miles round trip every day because my parents wanted me educated at a magnet school. I hated every minute of it, but it was the best thing for me.
Are you saying you know what's best for the people of your ward?
I'm saying if they let me, I'm trying to lift them up.
The only person you're interested in lifting up is yourself.
You look like you've been doing pretty well for yourself, too. And I know all the community organizers in this town, so I will ask you again, who the hell are you?
I work for your friend Bobby Novak. And if you think he's going to sacrifice his re-election to keep you in office, you're sadly mistaken.
Okay, so let's shift into the writing, directing, producing part. So tell us about what's going on there for you.
You know, again, I have several things that I've outlined and I've created. I have a feature that I am in, you know, I'm editing and rewrites with, and I just need to buckle down and get back in it because it's been sitting on me. Like it'll leave me for a while, and then all of a sudden it's on me more. I'm like, I want to write, I gotta create, and it just kind of because you can't force it, you know. Like if it's not on you, you're like And so, you know, when I was shooting all last summer, I was kind of in actor mode. I wasn't really in my writing mode. So now, like I said, it's been coming, like a new idea came to me recently. So I sat down and I outlined it and I was like, okay, this is a great idea for a feature. And I'm excited about that, you know? So I really need to get back to my writing. The directing, I haven't directed yet, but I know it's inevitable for me because, you know, I see, when I read something, I see shots, I hear, you know, things and I'm like, oh, I can just see it. So hopefully, I think this season on my show, I might be able to shadow a couple of directors. So I'm going to try to take advantage of those opportunities when I can, so I can learn more about that. But yeah, I mean, it's time to put some more content out there. You know, I was been a writer. I was in journalism and stuff back in the day, and I was like, okay, that's one of my strengths, and it brings me joy. So it's time to bring some stuff out, you know, and let the people know. So yeah.
All right. Talked about bumps, right? But what do you enjoy the most about all of it?
What do I enjoy the most?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I think the biggest thing that I enjoy, and this is just an overall statement with, and this could be anybody for any career, but the fact that I believe that I could go do something and here I am doing it. Yeah. And I have so many people, and I think a lot of us, I don't know where everybody's from, you know, but a lot of times people don't leave where they're from. I know from Iowa, there's a lot of people that stay, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. I went home, you know what I'm saying? I went back. My mom is still there. Chicago, you know, I lived there for a while. A lot of people stay there, and it was great. But for me, you know, when I was in Chicago and I was telling people, I'm like, I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna go to LA, you know, and I left, and I had a kid at the time. I left, you know what I'm saying? And I went, and while I'm doing this all, like, I know that I've had a lot of great successes and opportunities, but sometimes, you know, it takes people to go, I remember when you were talking about doing this, and you're doing it, and you did it. And it can be such an inspiration for people. And I love if somebody may hear my story or hear something and they feel encouraged and they feel inspired, and because it can happen. I am walking, living proof that there's almost nothing you can't do. I mean, so that's the biggest thing, I think, to continue to work in this field and to continue to like that brings me the most joy. The most joy is that if it helps somebody else or encourages somebody else. Awesome. Seriously. Like I honestly get really fulfilled. Like, you know, sometimes I'll share a story or I'll have people come to me and they you know, they're watching, because you never know who's watching, you know, you never know how it's going to hit somebody. And I've had people inbox me and they're just like, thank you for your story. I need to hear that. I was going through that. And it's so encouraging. That to me, like, I don't do it for that reason, but that fills me up selfishly. It fills me up so much. And that's one thing, like with my daughter, you know, I hope that she realized, there's somebody that just said, I remember like it was yesterday, they knew me in Chicago. Yeah. That, you know, I hope she sees there's almost nothing she can't do, and paths change. You know, I didn't plan on being here. So that's okay. And 2 years ago, I decided to step away from acting. I hadn't worked in 2 years. And I was like, I'm not having fun anymore. I'm getting ready to roll. I told my agents, managers, I was like, I can't, you know, I don't feel good, you know, and I have other strengths and other, you know, talents that bring me joy. And I was at peace with my decision. And then a month later, the universe said, hold up, I got something for you. And now I have a show. And it's, you know, that's how it works, right? When you let go and you surrender and release. But like, I at that moment, at that juncture, I was like, I never planned on being here in the first place. So I do realize it has changed. And maybe I was supposed to be here for this period of time to be a vessel for other things, to be a vessel for my writing, for my directing, for coaching others, for encouraging others. So I was like, okay, acting's not my end all be all. But, you know, it's still going. So that's what brings me the biggest joy. It's not even, I mean, I enjoy being on set and telling stories and living them realistically where people can relate, you know, and connect with. But it's really about helping other people, you know, live their dreams, man, go for their dreams.
Gallagher? Yeah. Dr. Kahi. Monica, your mother?
Yeah.
Your mother came in unresponsive. We made every attempt to revive her, but we were unsuccessful.
So she's dead?
Yes.
Drug overdose?
No, she died from a massive cerebral hemorrhage. A blood vessel in her brain burst. Would you like to see her?
Okay, sure.
Give us a few minutes and we'll bring you back.
So let's go further on that with helping other people. So hypothetically, you got an actor coming to you their year one, and you're going to be their mentor. What would you tell them to get them ready to go after this? They're year one. They're very green. They know nothing.
So that's pretty much like me, is what you're saying when I start out. I mean, you know, get into classes if you can. I think improv is always a great foundation building block for actors, because you have to just go with the flow. And in this business, things can change like that. You know, you could have a scene prepared and you get there and they changed it, you know, and then you have to be able to adjust to that and adapt. So I think improv is definitely a great tool to have in your kit as an actor. So that was the first thing I did. I took improv at the Second City in Chicago. So that would be first and foremost. And that, again, there's tons of classes, study, but also it's hard because it can be very expensive. You know, I mean, even as a working actor, you're like, I got to drop out of class for a while because I need to save my pennies. You know, like it's tough. So you can learn read, you can watch. We have, YouTube. You have all these things now, all these resources that you can study things, but you can also just study people, because what we do is everyday life things. We emotions, feelings. So you can watch people. You can literally watch two people, in the store, and you may not hear what they're saying. You don't know them, but you can watch their body language. You can tell what kind of mood they're in, what's their relationship to each other, all the things, because what we're doing as actors, we're portraying those things. How do we feel when we're cold and hot? And, so there's so many things you can still learn if you're not in a class.
So let's shift a little bit on that, because that's like the career preparation. What about the mental? Because you have to deal with a lot mentally and emotionally to go after this. What would you tell them to prepare them mentally and emotionally?
You have to have endurance. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And there are no guarantees in this business. It's not something where you can work up the ladder. It's just, unfortunately, it's not. You're probably going to put out a lot more than you're going to get back. So you have to be willing to invest in yourself, so financially, your classes, your headshots, all of those things. And your time and your sacrifices. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. You may not be able to go out and go to that party because you have an audition. You have something, you need to buckle down. I had to sacrifice being away from my daughter for a couple years. She went with her father when I first moved here. And that was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I knew I didn't have a support system. I couldn't drag her through that. So you're going to have to make sacrifices. But I think for me, one of my saving graces in this business is I don't look at other people as competition. I feel like it's a game of golf. I have to go in and better my score each time. And what's for me is for me. Yeah. And it's a constant, because you're human, and you're going to have moments where you get down, or you see other people winning and they're working and you're not, and your ego gets in there, and you compare, and you're like, but I love seeing my people win, because I feel like when they win, I win. But you constantly have to have that reconditioning to remind yourself, you know what, I didn't get that. It's okay. There's something better, manifesting itself right now for me. And just continue to push and continue to push and continue to have fun. Have fun. I think that's another really big one. A lot of people can get in here and it just becomes work, and you're just going through the motions, and it takes the fun away. And when you lose the fun, what's the point? You know?
Good stuff.
That's definitely what I would say to some people.
Yes, yeah.
I think this is a wonderful stopping place. I mean, we could keep going. So tell us about for our audience who are getting to know you, tell us about some of the shows that you're on right now and where they can watch those shows.
Well, my current show that I'm on is Secrets of Sulphur Springs. It's on the Disney Channel and Disney Plus. I think you can watch it on Hulu as well. That's my current show, where we're getting ready to go back for season 3 this summer. And I play Jess Dunn. I play a mom, which, I mean, I got experience doing that. So, that's right up my alley.
See, this is why you're not allowed to watch horror movies. You think all that stuff is real.
Your hand was shaking too. I felt it.
You were scared? The only thing that scares me is something happening to one of you.
You heard what Griffin's parents said. The Tremont is completely safe.
The Tremont is cursed. Look, bad things happen here, baby. People get hurt. Innocent people. And once they're gone, they're gone. You can't change that no matter how hard you try. I won't take that chance. I won't lose you too.
But it's a great show that has paranormal and time travel, and I describe it as Stranger Things meets Goonies meets Back to the Future. A lot of adults like it that don't even have kids, so it's not foo-foo Disney. So I tell people you probably like it. I'm not just saying that because it's my show, but it's actually a solid show. So that's where you can catch me for sure right now. But other things that are out there, you mentioned Moonbase 8. That's Showtime Network, so it's probably on their streaming device or their streaming service. Other than that, there's other things. I don't know. We got Shameless and NCIS and Rosewood and Bones and all kinds of other fun things that have happened in the past. So, if you check those things out. I mean, and then there's some, I'm trying to think of some films. I have a little small bit in the Always a Bridesmaid, which is on Netflix. Mm-hmm. I got to play a mean girl, which was fun. But yeah, and that, you just type in my name, I might pop up here and there. I don't know. We'll see.
So for your new fans, how do they keep in touch with you? Give us your social media, websites, or any contact information.
Well, I'm here on Instagram at Diandra Lyle. Same thing for Twitter, Diandra Lyle. I'm on Facebook, Diandra Lyle. Surprise, surprise. I'm not on Snapchat or TikTok. My daughter got a whole bunch of followers on TikTok. She like, I need to figure out how to get to her level. Okay, so, but I haven't really quite got there. Oh, Faux Pas short film. I'm seeing, yes, Aaron Coates, who's one of the writers of that lovely short film we did in Chicago. That's available. And I have the site. It's on endangeredpeace.com. It's a great short film. But yeah, that's out there too.
Okay, good.
But
good.
yeah, so I'm just Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, those are the primary ones. I'm not the best tweeter, but I'm trying to get over there a little bit more.
Okay, you're right. I did go to camp with Griffin's dad. And I was there the night Savannah went missing. It was a terrible experience, which is why I didn't talk about it. I hope you can understand that.
I do. I do understand that.
You're growing up so fast. I sometimes forget that.
So.
Awesome. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. We want to thank you for spending some time with us. We appreciate you. We're sending you positive vibes and wish you have a continued success in your career. Next week, we have Professor Iyabo Kweyani. She's a teacher at Dartmouth, but also a filmmaker and a DP. So she's going to break it down from a whole nother perspective. So, join us next week, same time, 7 p.m., Instagram Live. And right now, I'm going to kick it over to DJ Miss Tan to do a closeout.
Well, I feel like, can I call you G?
Go ahead. That's fine. We family now, so go ahead.
For joining us this evening. Your spirit is just beautiful. I want to say just one thing. I would have never watched. I'm a Disney girl because of my daughter, but now I was pleasantly surprised, and I absolutely would not have chosen the show otherwise.
Yeah,
so
you gave me goosebumps.
I love the show.
It's not a bad show. I be trying to tell people, listen. Yeah, and thank you.
I'm not trying to gas you up. I don't like paranormal things and different things like that. I wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? I really do like the show, and I really think that you're doing a great job. I thank you for joining us this evening and talking with us and giving your words of wisdom. And I wish you well. I know you're going to, that person that you keep saying that you're not yet, it's coming.
Thank you both so much for having me. I am really honored. I know, Anthony, years ago, we
absolutely
did an interview. I think I was in Chicago at that time. Yeah,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
I must have did phrase. I froze up because I said, is there anything you want to leave us with, your final word?
Yes. Again, I was just saying thank you guys both so much for having me because, again, this business is a funny one. I know not a lot of people know me and all that, and I got to do better with it. But I definitely enjoy, sharing space with people and other creatives. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share that with your audience and the rest of the world and the viewers, and thank you for your positivity. And thank you to everyone that tuned in today. I saw some familiar faces, and I think there's some new people. And thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, that is it. We love you. This is Blue Bistro Spotlight, our interview with Miss Diandra Lyle. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. We love y'all, and that's the end of our show for tonight.